Dr. Lalit Bhasin, Mr. Bajpayee, Akrit Rajaji, and the Legal Era team, participants, ladies and gentlemen. What I understand from the series of topics and what Mr. Bhasin has emphasized, three concepts are to be understood, appreciated, and dwelled upon: legal framework, technology, and the implementation. As far as law is concerned, it rests with the legislature. They make laws. The judiciary interprets law, but the policy that is framed on the basis of legislation and the policy itself, they are implemented by the bureaucrats. So implementation, it has its own priority. While implementing the laws as expeditiously as possible and to make them reach the benefits to the poorest of the poor, in 21st century, one has to take the assistance of modern technology. You cannot shy away from technology. Neither poverty nor distance can be a reason. Having said that, let me tell you, law, especially in a modern democratic republic, fundamentally responds to the citizenry interest, need of the time, and also has an eye on the future. Our legislative system inherently permits progressive legislation having regard to the economic growth and progress. That apart, advancement in scientific technology. All these aspects are reflective in the present adjudicatory process. We have the virtual hearing, we have the use of artificial intelligence, we have many other technologies. But what is required in present time, the same must be formalized into law so that it will get assurance but also authenticity. Long back, the Privy Council had stated authenticity is the hallmark of law, and it is the hallmark of a progressive or growing society. Now, law and economics are intertwined, connected. That has been spoken by Adam Smith, Amartya Sen, and the recent Nobel laureate Abhijit Banerjee. It has been the consistent view that the progress of economy of any nation is dependent on an existing encouraging atmosphere facilitating transactional process and respecting consumer necessity. You cannot transact without a consumer, and any transaction must be consumer friendly, and that is the development key to the progressive world. Now let us focus on e-commerce. E-commerce is an opportunity. I would like to say it has the potentiality to become the lead choreographer and cornerstone of Indian economy's success story. Initially, e-commerce was confined to travel booking, to ticketing, and to various other aspects, but really not all those key factors. With the passage of time, the e-commerce has entered into many a sphere, and it is selling services to a gabillion products online, and that has come to stay. We cannot now imagine life without e-commerce. And this has been more accentuated during the pandemic. Pandemic has caused us quite a lot of harm, but simultaneously it has taught us how to move on, how to live on, how not to abandon any progress. Progress is the spine of any human nation, any human character. And that is why the e-commerce, the modern economic facilitation help us. I have a suggestion. The e-commerce is floating its base in a rapid manner in metro cities. But what about the rural area? It has to build infrastructure in the rural areas and supply chain capabilities, so that they must ingeniously tackle the barriers that is keeping the rural area away from the cities. And they must also ingeniously try to understand the language of those areas so they can spread the factum of e-commerce. Now, one of your topics is, and very relevant and very modern, is the IBC. This has, in fact, this has come as a panacea. In fact, this has got the trust of the foreign investors, where they can take up, participate with the stressed assets, the distressed assets, and they can really grow. The investment of FDI in India after IBC came in is quite high. And that is where the IBC has become absolutely helpful in the progressive law. This goes through a number of amendments, which is a necessity. But certain futuristic perceptions has to be incorporated by way of amendments. And that is why I would call it a progressive futuristic legislation. Law and economics have their own dynamics. These dynamics have focused on the digital world, digitalization of the legal process, the economic process, the business atmosphere is helping quite a lot. But how do we really try to understand this craft? Unless we have the trained people, spread of digitalization process, making people equipped with that, we cannot prosper. This platform, as I understand, will propagate the idea. From the idea, the practicality shall spring, and the people who are in the helm of affairs will take it up and they will implement. The duty is to float the idea, and that's being done. The global economy, as I understand, as a student of law, is changing the configuration, and the economic activities, if I allow myself to say, is taking a different kind of turn. And unless we really run with it, we will be backward, and we cannot afford to do so. While trying to push ourselves forward for the purpose of progressive economics along with futuristic law, we cannot be oblivious of the fact everything also depends upon the ethics. Ethics in business, ethics in legal practice, ethics in application of technology also. In this context, I am reminded of a statement by Henry Ford, and I quote, "A business that makes nothing but money is a poor business." Look at this profound statement. Money making is not the business alone. When you are making business, you have the corporate responsibility. I know there is a statutory provision, but you must go with the proper mindset, with a kind of idealism, choosing the scenario how much you can really engage in the corporate responsibility. I gather there are legal heads of the various corporate sectors. I have 5 principles for them so that they can contribute to law and contribute to the socio-economic progression. First, they must adopt a robust and high quality inclusive growth model accompanied by ample job creation so that benefits are shared widely across society. Second, converging the global best practices with domestic practices in the legal field so as to minimize the gap between the two and thereby bring the Indian corporate legal services at par with that of the world. Thirdly, though artificial intelligence is the new thing that is in vogue, but in the corporate legal teams, there should be endeavor to synthesize human intelligence with artificial intelligence, and then only there is a possibility to strike a chord of natural organic intelligence. Fourthly, in the legal departments must make attempt to yield the benefits of demographic dividend, as presently we are a nation of the young. Fifthly, they must take recourse to globally developing the art of negotiation with an open and spirited mind. Having said that, let us come back to the concept of arbitration. The pandemic initially stopped arbitration. Then the arbitrations and the arbitrators and the members of the bar took recourse to virtual mode. And arbitrations are going on. Some of the arbitrations are over. Awards have been pronounced. That apart, the India has gone big way to the online dispute resolution through mediation, through negotiation, through discussion and deliberation. The pandemic has not really brought the human civilization or the economy to an entire halt or stop. And that is the attitude and aptitude of human being. And that is why we are able to participate today in this grand webinar, which really covers many a facet. Having said that, now I must highlight one aspect. What should the state do? Dr. Bhasin has said about the pendency. Here I must clarify one thing. There has to be a distinction between the pendency and arrears. The cases may be pending, but every case does not get into the compartment of arrear. There has to be a time lag, a time gap. The case that is filed today is pending, but it cannot assume the character of arrear. Therefore, we have to understand that in a better way. When I say this, I am not denying the fact there has to be galvanization of artificial intelligence, technological aspects, and how to quicken the process of delivery, justice delivery system. In my conclusion, I would say the man, whoever is participating in this Congress, has the spine and the spirit to fight and not to accept defeat. Having galvanized this kind of show, the Legal Era team deserves unreserved congratulations. I, from the core of my heart, congratulate Akriti Rajadaji and her entire team. Thank you. Thank you very much.